In the last tutorial, I showed you how to connect to Google Sheets API and put information into your Google Sheet, like so. And today, what I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to show you how to take information that's submitted through Contact Form 7 and put it into this Google Sheet. Now, if you haven't gotten this far and you don't have the connection between the Google Sheet API and your WordPress site, then you're going to want to go back and watch the video prior to this and get up to this part. So first thing I'm going to do is in my code, I'm going to make sure that I comment out this die so that way we can actually access our WordPress dashboard. And then I'm going to be in my WordPress dashboard and I'm going to install and enable Contact Form 7. So I actually have that installed already. So if you go here, I have Contact Form 7. If you don't have that, you go ahead and you click Add New. And then you're going to search for Contact Form 7. I'm assuming that everyone has used this before. If not, it's okay. But basically, Contact Form 7 is a great plugin for you to be able to send information. Basically, whenever someone submits an email, you collect that data. So I'm going to make sure that my internet, which it looks like it's being a little bit interesting, so let's try this again. So Contact Form 7, you would then hit install now and then activate. And by default, it should go ahead and create this contact over here with this Contact Form 1 by default. If I click on this, it'll have by default, it'll ask for the username, password, name, email, and subject, and then message. And then it gives you this shortcode. So I have a page under my pages I've already created called contact. So I added new, I click add new, I created a page, and in there I just pasted in that shortcode like so, and then hit update. So that means I have a contact page. There you go. All right, so with this showing up and Contact Form 7 enabled, we can now make the connection into our demo. So you'll notice that it's been loading a bunch of my tests because every time I load the page, it fires my script and it adds to this Google Sheet, which is not necessarily what we want, and we're going to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove a lot of this stuff like so. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to clean up our past code, and we are going to kind of recycle a lot of it, but we can go ahead and actually just get rid of a majority of it, and we'll just rewrite a lot of this. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of this die right here, and I'm going to get rid of this print. And then this right here, I'm actually going to comment out for now. And then this information up here, I'm going to go ahead all the way up to this spreadsheet ID, which I already had commented out before. I'm going to delete, and then I will keep this information. So now it's not going to keep adding that row every time I load the page. So I'll go ahead and save that. And then I will just refresh this page to make sure I don't have any errors. Okay, no errors, so I'm good to go. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is requires Contact Form 7. So we want to make sure that the function that we're going to create knows that Contact Form 7 exists. Now, there's different ways to do this. Some people will search for the active plugin. I'm going to use this define. So if I'm in this Contact Form 7, so the way I got there is I went to my plugins and then I went to Contact Form 7 and I see this WP Contact Form 7 PHP file, and they have a bunch of defines in here. And I like this define WPCF underscore plugin. I don't think that that's going to change very often, this define. So I think that this is a good thing to pull from. So I'm going to search and I'm going to say if defined WPC F7 underscore plugin. So if that definition is there, then let's do something. Let's say die. So this should now make my page turn white. Oh, so let's see what happened. If I had a space there, there you go. So I had accidentally had an extra space. All right, so I know that this is now being executed when I want it to be because it has the plugin enabled. If it was disabled, my screen would show up regularly, but I have it activated. So what we're going to be using is we're going to be using an add action. We're going to hook into this add action. So I'm going to say add action, and what we're going to hook into is we're going to hook into an action that is already created for us called WPC F7 WordPress contact form 7 mail send. So this is executed whenever we hit. So let me reload this page. I have to save it first. And this is going to give me, didn't have mustache brackets, so let's go like that. So every time we hit this submit button after the email is sent, it's going to execute this function here. But first we have to name the function. So I'm going to say, I'm going to name this C contact form 7 data Google Sheet. Or I can say, I can even name this to contact form 7 to Google Sheet. So what's going to happen is every time I hit this submit button, this is going to get fired after the mail. That should be mail, WPCF mail is sent. Then it's going to, after that, fire this function. So I have to create a PHP function. So I'm going to say function CF7 to Google Sheet. And then I want to send, and what I want to send is the data. So every time I hit submit and send, it's going to go to this function and it's going to give me the data that it was submitted here. All right. So in this case, let's say I want it where I have multiple contact forms and I only want this contact form to send data to this spreadsheet. So I only want this particular contact form to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say if data title, so that's actually the title of the form, equals something, then let's do something. And what it's going to equal is I'm going to go into my WordPress backend and I'm going to go to the contact and I have it equal to this title right here. I'll copy that and I'm going to paste it. So one thing to note is that if I edit this contact form, I save it, that title is going to change. So I'm going to need to change this to contact form. So if I had multiple contact forms, this code would only work when this contact form is submitted. All right. So now what we're going to do is we have to get the submission of this contact form. So I'm going to say submission equals WPCF7 submission get instance. and I need to put another like that. All right, so I'm gonna use the WPCF submission class, and I'm gonna get the instance of the submission. So if submission, so if a submission exists, then let's do something. All right. So then I'm going to say, if submission, we're going to get the data set. Contact form 7 data equals submission get posted data. So now we have the data from what is submitted right here. Now the question is, actually let's go to the other page so you can see side by side. So when we hit submit, it's going to submit our data and we're going to get our data. Now this gets submitted as an array, and it actually, this CF7 data is the data, and it's an associative array. And what I mean by that is to get the email, we get it by whatever is called here. So you'll see that it says your email, your name. And if I were to enter in a new text field, you'll see that it creates this text that says text and then test. And so if I save that and refresh this, we're going to see another field here. And if I inspect this, we'll see the type is text and the name right here. It's kind of hard to see. The name right here is test. So for these ones, let's see what they are. Inspect your name. And that's what we want. We want this name field right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to say name equals CF7 data your name, because that says your name right here, which is the name of the field, your name. All right, so then we get your email. So I'll copy this line, email, email. And then we can say subject, and why not, let's just do your message. Now, of course, you can change this to whatever you want to save. If you wanted to save their phone number, you can add a phone number field, delete this other field. And actually, let's just do that. Let's go here and we'll say label. And we will add in a telephone number. We'll name it your phone, so you'll notice that down below it changes. We will make it required. We'll say insert field, and we will copy this label like so. So let's save this and let's refresh. Okay, your phone. So then back in our code, all right. So we have all this data. Now what we need to do is we need to submit it. Now, if I try to do this, I'm using this function, and so all of this other code up here actually won't get executed. So I need to move this into my function. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'm going to copy all of this all the way up to this required. And I'm going to come down here. And since we only want to do this if there is a submission, I'm going to paste it right there. And then I'm going to format this a little bit to make it a bit better. So once there's a submission, we're going to then go ahead and start to connect to our spreadsheet. Now that we've connected to our spreadsheet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and using the code that we already commented out to put something, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to uncomment it, then grab it, come into here underneath the spreadsheet and still within our function of the mustache bracket, paste it there. And this can all be cleaned up later if you wanted to use classes and make this more clean. And then I'll indent this like so. All right. So now in theory, if I submit something, I should put an email first and then last name like so. So let's go ahead and I will type in some information. Okay, I'm gonna hit submit. So it says my message was sent. I will check here and I have more data. All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. So let's connect this. So first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that these make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send in values, and what I'm going to send in is I'm going to send in my email, name, phone, subject, and message. Okay. So now let's go ahead and let's try this again. Hit submit. No errors. And there you go. It moved everything over. So it doesn't line up, right? So we'd have to just come in here and you have to say email. And this was name, phone, subject, message. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to QA this a little bit. So we'll say test2, test, and then we would want to put in phone number, and then let's not put in a message because that's the one that's not required. So let's hit submit and let's see what gets brought over. So there you have it. That's how you can connect your Contact Form 7 to Google Sheets.